Hey guys, and welcome back to the Pennies to Pounds podcast with your host Kia. And this is a podcast where we aim to dispel your myths, simplify difficult financial jargon, and rectify your own personal problems. Happy Monday, everyone. It feels amazing to be back. I know I've had a mini hiatus from Christmas, but it's good to be back on your earwaves. Is that even the word? Your radio waves? I don't know. But however you're listening or watching, it's good to be back. I'm very excited to bring you an incredible episode today. And I know I said that a lot, but this is genuinely incredible because we're going to be delving into how we can automate our finances to take away the stress and put ourselves in a good money mindset for this coming year. And I have an amazing guest, a friend of the podcast who's been on, it's been a couple of years now. And I don't think we had visuals when they came on, but they're coming to grace the podcast and to give us all of their knowledge. Guest, who are you?
Hello. My name is Laura Ann Moore. I am a money mindset expert, speaker, educator, podcast host, all of the things.
You do everything, Laura. You do everything, and we love it. So I want to ask you first and foremost, how was your 2025 going?
Do you know what? My 2025 is given. It's really given. Yeah, I've come in with, I try not to, subscribe to the whole new year, new me too much, but I also do like the energy of a new year. It's that thing of, it's dark, it's cold. I try not to push myself, like, especially when it comes to things like exercise and, like rest. But on a work capacity, I am locked in. Some good things have been happening, but it feels like, when you work a lot, sometimes it feels really draining because it's a bit misaligned, but sometimes you're like, I could literally work every hour under the sun and it's flowing, it's energizing.
That's amazing.
It feels really good.
I feel like there's a lot of rhetoric going around about locking in. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I've joined the crew because I've locked in like you, and my productivity, my outputs, my workload, all of that has transformed.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it because, like you said, rest is important. So I'm also kind of like, okay, but if I don't feel up to it today, let me just take some rest.
Yeah.
And then now I feel even better tomorrow than trying to force myself today and then you don't want to do anything tomorrow either.
Yeah.
So I like that for you.
I worked 2 weekends ago. Woke up and I was feeling the vibes. It was Saturday. I planned to just be at home and I was like, I want to work. I was really excited about a couple of projects. Got my laptop out, worked all day Sunday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. But woke up on Monday and I was like, I'm feeling good. But Monday, I was like, didn't have as much to do. So I just took a bit of a chill day, like did a little bit. So it was nice. I think that's the nice thing when you work for yourself. You get to pick.
You get to pick and choose.
You get to pick and choose.
There are ups and downs working for yourself, but that is a good up. Yeah. Oh, right, that's a really good one. Laura, I'm excited. We're going to be talking about how we can automate our money. And I thought a good way to phrase it is money on autopilot, right? So I want to ask you, what does that even mean? And how does automating stuff like bills and savings and investments help people to feel less stressed about their finances?
So with that phrase, which I love, I feel like there's two ways you can look at it. The mindset side and then the practical side. As you know, I always like to put a mindset spin on things.
We love it. That's why you're here. We love
it. So from a mindset perspective, the autopilot side is like, a lot, we spend 90 to 95% of our time on autopilot, having the same thoughts, not being as mindful. If, that's kind of the space that you're in, and we have a lot of the same thoughts. So it's like when it comes to your money, what autopilot thoughts and feelings are you having? Like, are they positive? Are they negative? Are they helping you? Are they hindering you? I think when it comes to money, because it's so emotional, the way that you think and feel about it is how you behave. So you can have stories and thoughts about money that are so on autopilot and always have been for so long that sometimes you don't realize how they're actually impacting your behavior. So that's like the mindset side. On the practical side, I see it as being on autopilot with your money, or putting your money on autopilot, is like, how do you automate and set up systems with your finances to be successful? So, example, I'm a big believer of having multiple accounts, one for your bills, one for your spending, one for your saving, one for your investing. And when you automate your finances, one day you get paid. What do you do with that money? If you have automation, so direct debits, standing orders set up to move, okay, I know I need this much in my bills account. I'm going to move X amount onto my spending account, which is my general spending, outside of my fixed expenses. this much goes to savings, debt, investments, and it's all done on one day. You then don't have to think about it. You don't have to think, oh, maybe I'll save a little bit later in the month, or maybe I'll just pay the minimum off my debt. You know, it kind of removes the emotional part of making decisions in that moment. Maybe if you're feeling not as on top of it, or you're not feeling as good, you might make decisions with your money that aren't actually aligned with your goals and values. But if you automate it and it's on autopilot, it kind of takes that part away. So I think it really sets you up for success in that area.
I agree. I think our emotions play such a big part that people don't realize. I think we can all acknowledge that our emotions play a role when it comes to maybe eating or exercise or lack thereof, because, you know, when you're sad, you might go into the freezer and grab some ice cream out. When you're happy, you might say, right, I'm going to be fighting fit and I'm going to eat clean today. Same kinds of exercise, but we don't really consider it when it comes to our money. But that directly influences how we spend. Obviously, I'm a lot better now, but I know when I was younger and I didn't really understand that, if I was upset, I'd be like, I'm going to go out shopping because shopping makes me feel better. And I think a lot of people are in that mindset, but it is kind of just understanding that you have that and ways that you can unpick it, like putting your money on autopilot. So we've said this, and I love automating as much as you do, and I'm a big believer, like you, of multiple accounts. However, I know that for some people listening and watching, automating finances can seem quite scary, quite daunting, because it's almost that fear that you're losing control of your money because you're not actually physically doing it every month, right? So what are some emotional hurdles that you think people might face when it comes to setting up their money to work for itself?
So I think it's really interesting, the conversation around the fear of losing control of your money. Because in this instance, I am such a big believer that automating your finances allows you to be in control. It's actually the opposite. And it's a little bit like the narrative around a budget. I prefer to call it a spending plan because it feels more positive, whereas people associate budgets with being restrictive and tight and frugal. And that's why people avoid budgeting. But actually, having a budget or a spending plan is the thing that helps you do everything you want. You're mindful about where your money's going. You're working towards your goals. And it's the same with automation. I do think it is slightly easier to automate your finances when you have a regular paycheck, because you know when you're getting paid, you know how much you're getting paid. You can sit down, do the work, set up the automations, hands off. All you have to do every month on payday, you know, you wake up, your automations have happened, and you're able to then literally just be mindful about your spending account. If you have an irregular paycheck, maybe you're on a 0-hour contract, maybe you're self-employed, it might feel more sticky and a bit harder, but I do think that it can still really help. It might just take a little bit more work to set up. But I think this fear of losing control, like the automations allow you to say, I've decided already exactly where my money is going. If you go the other way and you're like, you avoid budgeting, you're not thinking about it, your money will do what it wants. It's gonna, how easy is it to walk out of the house and be like, you get home at the end of the day and you're like, I've literally just spent £100 and I don't know how.
Especially if you live in a big city like London. Oh my gosh, you step out the house, you take one big breath and you spent £50.
Like, you hear your app go off and it's like, ching, and you're like, what? I didn't do anything. So like automating it, I believe helps you be in control. So some of the emotional hurdles, I think, if it's fear, it's like you want to get under the hood of what is the fear? Is it the fear of not having enough? Is it the fear of not being able to do all the things that you want? Is it, everyone is different and it shows up differently. But I think the key thing when it comes to that is the awareness piece. Like, okay, let's say you're like, oh, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, yeah, do you know what? Maybe automating my finances is good. And that's when some of the thoughts and feelings come up. Just notice, what is it? What are the thoughts saying? What's the feeling? What is the fear, the worries? Because that allows, it's just data. It allows you to go, okay, this is what I need to do. And I do think with automating your finances, it's not the first thing you should do. It's like a second or third step. And I'm sure we'll get onto this in a minute, but really being able to go, okay, that can be part of my plan. And when it comes to the emotional side, if you're noticing things that are maybe holding you back, negative thoughts, you can literally start by being aware changing your language and just being more mindful throughout your day, because that allows you to come up with ideas about how to fix it.
Absolutely.
If you're in the noise and you're in the busyness and, it's this and this and this, it doesn't allow any opportunity for like creative ideas of ways to make money, ways to save, ways to budget. You want to like free up your mind to call that in. So I think, awareness first, and then using that as data to come up with ideas.
Absolutely. I love that. I think it is so important, like you say, to be in tune with yourself. And I've said it recently, I put it on my story recently, about this whole reframing things. Yeah. So there was a point not too long ago where I was kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to make this money or how I'm going to do this and do that. And instead of doing that, and I know a lot of people might feel the same, kind of where we're at the moment in the economy, but instead of kind of saying like, I've got no money, maybe it's reframing it and saying, okay, money's tight, but this gives me an opportunity to figure out other ways to make money that can fit into my lifestyle. Yes. So I think it is, like you say, being aware of those feelings, because sometimes it creeps up. And it is easy. Money is a big part of our lives, that you can feel very overwhelmed and say, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing. And it's a lot of fear when you feel like you're giving up that control, but like you said, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit there, but like what plans should people be looking at when it comes to their finances? So I agree, automating is probably not step one, because you should have done a few things before that. So what would those steps look like to get to automation?
So I think, on a mindset basis, it's really understanding like how you think about money, maybe why you've behaved the way that you have by looking at the past. I'm not a big believer in like focusing too much on the past and being like, that's why I did this. And it can be helpful to say, interesting, with me. I always remember my parents or my dad saying things like, money doesn't grow on trees, I want, never got. Maybe that's why when I was 16, I became a total money hoarder and I was scared to spend it. Maybe that's why when I was, how old was I? 25, and I wanted to go self-employed, but I was too scared. There is, you're able to attach it to go, interesting. But I don't grip onto that story and be like, poor me, this is why, this is the situation. You go, interesting. How would I like to feel about money? What is my ideal relationship, and what is one thing I can do to take me closer? And that kind of mindset element is you can be on a money mindset journey for the rest of your life. Like that's kind of the exciting thing. So look at that. It's not a one and done. It's a pay attention, ask yourself some questions. Then I think it's really important to get to know your numbers. I speak to far too many people, and it's understandable with the way that we're not taught this stuff in school and not necessarily from your parents, but really understand, where is my money going right now? Where has it been going? What choices have I made? Not judging myself, just using it as data. What are my bills? And just getting a really clear overview on like the savings you have, the debt you have, and making a plan off the back of that. So getting to know your numbers, then creating what your goals are. So like, what do you actually want to work towards? Because if you sit down and go, right, let's automate my finances. How do you know how much to put in savings? How do you know how much to clear off debt? How do you know how much to invest? You need to go, what is it I'm working towards? And then you can kind of reverse engineer it to say, okay, well, if I want to save, $6,000 in 10 years, okay, that works out to be X amount per month. You can work out the numbers. That's a savings example. But I think that's really important. And then you can get on to more. Yeah. That's the order, I would say.
I agree with you. I think that is a good way to go, especially with the goals.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're the same, but how many people do I speak to all the time who say, right, I really want to save, I want to invest. And I'm like, okay, but what are your goals?
Yeah.
Right? Tell me your short-term and long-term goals. And they're like, I don't know, just have money.
Yeah.
But that's directly going to influence how much you put in, like you said, and also the level of discipline you have towards your money, because we know how easy it is to just say, I will save. I've been saving for 6 months, but I could just take it out and go on holiday.
Yeah.
But if you have a goal in mind, you're likely to be more disciplined to say, no, I'm saving up for a reason, or I'm investing for a reason, that money's staying in there. Unless it's a massive emergency, I need to take it out. I'm not going to take it out for a pair of trainers or because I wanted that top and it's on sale.
Yeah.
That's not the reason I'm taking it out. I'm taking it out because I've either reached my goal target or, like you said, it's a big emergency or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, those steps, I think, are a great way to kind of put together that plan for you and your money.
Can I as well, just touching on the goals, because I know I see your content, we have very similar around the goals stuff in life, in business, in finance. A couple of things. I think sometimes people are scared to set financial goals because they if they've always been bad with money, the thought of saying, I want to save 10 grand in 2 years, that part of your brain, like,
You can't do
girl,
that.
you haven't even been able to save, you know, £5. So it can like turn you off, right? But the great thing is that focus, that motivation, the emotional side to be able to go, I decided I wanted something, I set my heart on it, and it allowed me to change my self-identity and see myself as a saver. It allowed me to set up systems and automations to get there. It allowed me to feel like I'm working towards something. And, you know, I think sometimes in general, people fall into the camp of, I want more money. I say, what does that look like? If you just have £5 more, is that okay? Is that good enough? So really getting clear so you know how to track your progress. So you know whether you're on target, off target, and you can celebrate yourself. Or to be able to go, I know where I'm going wrong. Or you have the side where people go, oh, I don't really know like what I'm working towards. I just want enough to kind of like pay my bills, and they like undersell themselves. And I think it's actually less in this instance about having a massive savings target and more about being able to say, I want more for my life than just paying my bills. Like, yeah, I go to work. Yes, I have to pay bills. But what bigger, exciting things do I want? Because we're just going to stuff. Always.
That's never going away.
Always. Like when I saved 15 grand when I was 19 with the plan to go to drama school, and then last minute didn't go to drama school and went traveling. If I didn't have that money, I would not have gone, or it would have been very different. I would have had to borrow money. I would have had to get a job whilst I was away. I did not have to do that.
You had
I
the
got
money
to sit
saved
in the sun, but you're always going to need money. So I
Yes.
think that, and I know we're referring to kind of like savings and investing goals, but goals are never a bad thing.
No, they're never a
think.
bad thing. And I think the bigger the goal, the closer you'll get to them.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this, I was talking to my dad the other day. Like you say, you and I are very big on goals, and I'm massive at home. I get all my family to think about goals, whether they care about it or not. We're all gonna put goals into place. And we're talking about goals. And if you didn't know, my dad's a content creator. He does DIY renovations. So he had a goal, and he told me the goal. It was quite a small goal. He's like, yeah, I want to do this. And I said, but what about if you just doubled it? What if you just double the number? He's like, no, I'm never going to get that. I said, just double the number, right? And actually, this is what I told him last year. So beginning of last year, I said, just double the number. Let's just see how close you get, right? And I think his goal was initially he wanted to hit something like 10K on Instagram. And I said to him, make it 50. Let's just push out there, make it 50. And he said, no. I said, we're making it 50. We got to the end of the year, he got to 40.
Oh,
and I said to him, see,
amazing.
if you didn't make it 50, you might not have gotten to 40.
Yes.
So even though you didn't reach the big goal, it pushed you closer than you would have been if your goal was 10. You would have been 10 and be like, oh, cool.
Easy.
You know?
Yeah,
But
you say it
that
a
bigger
bit
goal
more.
made you push and push, because I saw him throughout the year saying, I need to see if I can push more and how can I better my content and all of that. Obviously, that's just content-wise, but you can relate to anything.
100%.
But a bigger goal, not going to say you're going to save $1 million in a year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So make it realistic. Realistic.
Yeah.
But the bigger the goal and the more you think, oh, I'm not sure, you'll push yourself and you'll get closer than you would have if it was a more conservative goal, I would say. So I love that. I think it's really, really important. Life happens, Laura.
It does.
Life happens. Things change, people change. And people move houses, change jobs, relocate, all those kind of things. So their priorities may change. Talking about that then, how often should we revisit our automations to make sure that they still fit our goals?
I think if you've set up automations and you've got money moving into savings and investments, I still think it's important to regularly check in with your money. You know, have a money date, check. Is the payments that were meant to go out, did they go out? Is there any changes in my bills? How was my spending? Like, it's still important to be on top of that. I also think it's great for you tracking your progress to check in with it and be able to go, great, even though you know I set up an automation to move £250 a month into my savings and you know it's happening, still nice to go into a little chart or, you know, tick off closer to my goal because it keeps that motivation. But when a big life thing happens, I think that's a great opportunity to have an overhaul and really sit down and go, okay, I live at home right now. I know that I'd like to move out. What does that look like? Do I need to save a bit more? Maybe I actually need to stop my saving because I'm going to need some money, more money in this moment because I know next month I've got to pay for, you know, house movers or whatever. If you are changing jobs, getting a new job and your salary is going up or down, 100% you've got to sit down. So I think big life changes, that is a perfect moment to really sit down and like look over it. And if you've been doing if you've kind of like been doing some of the work, you've been doing some of the money mindset work, you've been doing your budgeting, having your money dates, when a big life change happens, what's amazing is you don't go, oh my God, I've got to sit and look at my money now. I'm forced to look at my money. I have no choice. You're like, I've already been doing some of the work. So I know that maybe I need to rearrange some things. Maybe, whatever, I've got to change my automations. But you can enjoy the process of what your big life change is. It's not tarred with the fear or the stress of the money problems because you've already been doing some of the work. That's the great thing. So instead of being forced and then the whole situation being like, oh God, I wish I'd been sorting my money out before. Oh no. You go, I've already been doing it. Yeah. This is great. And you can enjoy and be present in the process of whatever that big life change is.
Absolutely. I love that. That reminded me as you were talking, I have friends who, even though they know better, and I've done it before, where, you don't do anything for half the year. Then all of a sudden you've got a massive holiday come up and you're like, right, I'm in the gym every day, twice a day, eating nothing but protein, right? And realistically, when that comes and you're like a month out from your holiday, you're panicking. Yeah. Because you might say, I need this body in a month. And it's not realistic to be able to you might get closer, but it's not really it. Whereas if you've done small bits of exercise, even if you just went for a half an hour walk every day and you've done that, now your holiday's here, or imagine you just booked a holiday and we're going into 3 weeks. You're like, okay, cool. Well, now I can just kind of up that a bit because I've been doing the work. So I think that all kind of relates, making those small steps first. So it doesn't feel as overwhelming to do it all in one go because that is quite daunting.
Because it's that thing of, I'm a massive fan of James Clear and Atomic Habits, one of my favourite books. Yeah. And I always remember the 1% better every day, like marginal gains. Yeah. No matter what, if we apply it to finances, you're always going to need money for something like we just said. So if you can just do a little bit here and there, you build your way up to being in a better position. And I think that is really key. Like same, I've even been in a position where I've been amazing with my money, like doing all the things, saving. And then I've had, like 2024 for me was not a financial year for me. Okay. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. I had one of the best years. I was traveling loads of holidays, but my business and my finances, I did a little bit of financial progress. I'm not going to lie. I've spoken about it online. And I'm able to kind of say, isn't it funny? Because actually, whilst I have no regrets, because you learn as you're on the job and as you're doing these things, you go, oh, I see how actually if I'd have maybe just done that one thing every month or saved a little bit or done, set my automations up, it would be a very different situation. And I think it's so good to learn from experience sometimes because you're able to go, I see the impact that has. We are always going to be forced at some point because, like say, life happens. You might have babies, you might get married, you might decide you want to set up a charity, you might decide you want to go traveling, like whatever it is. Being able to go, at least I've been doing a little bit every day or a little bit every month is the best way to do things.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
Absolutely. And it's great to hear that from you. I mean, like you have shared before, some of my setbacks, because I think even though we are educators online and we are people that obviously they follow us, listen to what we put out, we are still humans.
100%.
And I always remind people of the fact that we are still very young as well. Yeah. I want to enjoy and live life. I'm not in my 50s and 60s where, you might have been working for a while and you're like, okay, cool, I make smarter decisions. I'm kind of like, I will look after my finances, but I also like to travel. Yeah. Because for me, I'm still in my 20s and I want to just travel and I want to see the world and I want to go out here and I want to treat myself every so often because I've been working a lot. So let me just treat myself within reason. Yeah. Obviously, we've made a plan. Yeah. But, it is kind of nice to be reminded of that fact. Yeah. I want to bring it back because whilst we all have money, I think everyone could always do with some more money. Money is often the source of many arguments, whether that's within families, in couples, even in friendships. Yeah. Because many people don't see eye to eye when it comes to money. So how can automating finances help to reduce that tension and encourage money conversations between different relationships?
So I think in couple relationships, it does look different if you are a new couple and you're not living together, you're both living your independent lives, but you're together versus living together, being married, that kind of thing. Everyone manages their finances differently. But I think either way, having money conversations can be so empowering and being able to say, hey, this is what I do with mine. What do you do with yours? And I think it's twofold with the arguments around it. I think one is the actual problem at hand, right? You manage your money like this, I manage mine like this, we're not aligned, and it's the practical stuff. But then it's if you yourself are having money worries, money stresses, you're not really sure what's going on, and we all know, like, can keep you up at night, it can make you feel awful, that energy gets carried into the relationship, heightening arguments, making you more likely to pick at little things. So it's kind of twofold. So by being better with and automating your own finances and knowing what's going on, not only does it help your nervous system calm and allow you to think clearly, be more present, it also allows you to, you know, lead by example and say, oh, these are the things that I'm doing. I do think that with like friends as well, it's really great. Like I know for me with my friendships, we all talk very openly about money, both the challenges, the setbacks, but also the positive stuff. And it's had such a big impact on my whole friendship circle. You know, I see my friends going out for pay rises and going out for promotions.
Oh, I love that.
But then also at the same time, I'm so sorry, girls. I can't come out for dinner because I'm saving to buy a house and it's a really important goal. But I'd love to, you know, should we all go for a walk? Can we do something within this budget? No one's like, oh, for God. You're like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah. Because you understand that we're all having those healthy conversations. And I think the automating side is someone's got to learn about it first. So if you're the one listening to this and you're able to implement that, and then share the love, share the podcast, but also say, this is how it's working for me. And I think that it, like anything, the more you talk about something and you're able to be vulnerable and share, it's not about having it perfect or having it right. It's about being able to say, I'm aware of something. This is what I'm doing. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. You know, any tips? What do you think? And I think it just takes the pressure off because there's so much shame and like silence around money, especially in the UK.
Absolutely. But don't you think it's so freeing? What you said with your friendship group especially, I've got the same thing with my friendship group. And I think it's so freeing that no one in my friendship group ever feels this type of way in a group to be like, oh, actually, guys, money's a bit tight.
Yeah.
Or, oh, actually, do you want to just come around instead?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, fine. Absolutely fine. If anything, that's probably a bit nicer. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
I don't mind coming around to yours and we can all bring
hosting.
we'll bring something around when we come to yours. I think being able to have those conversations makes it so much easier that no one's thinking, oh, you've got no money. It's like, no, I've got different priorities, or actually I haven't got extra money to do this thing at the moment because I budgeted for everything that I thought was coming up. So this was kind of a surprise meetup, which I'd love to see you guys, but I hadn't accounted for this financially. So can we do something else? I feel like it's so nice. I think this is the year to kind of encourage that more. And hopefully if you listen to this, you feel inspired and you're like, right, I'm just going to talk about money more to my friends. Yeah. So I love it.
And when one person has the confidence and the vulnerability to say, really sorry, it's not that I don't want to hang out. It's not that I don't want to see you guys. It's not that I don't care about our friendship, but my priorities financially are X, Y, and Z. So I offer an alternative. When one person does that, it actually makes everyone else have that moment. Okay, if you're able to think, that means that when I have that situation, I feel more confident to say that. And I also find that if you are in a position where you are dating or it's a new relationship, again, everybody is different, but to be able to say that and be able to say, I really want to see you. Are we able to do X, Y, and Z? This is where I'm at. If you're entering a new relationship, that I do think the sooner you can have money conversations, and you don't need to tell them exactly how much you've got saved or invested if you don't want to, but just being able to say, oh, I'm on a budget, or that's not my plan, but I'd love to see you. Can we go do this, this, and this? That, and I think there's so much, there's a huge narrative, especially in society, around dating, who pays the bills, what you should be doing, what that makes you look like, what their opinion, all of that kind of stuff. So being able to say that is so freeing and empowering.
Absolutely, I agree. And one thing to everyone listening and watching is a lot of people do a lot of talking online, but in actual relationships, when you meet people, when you actually get into relationships, don't be stressed out because as long as they're older, I think young women, you know, in their late teens, early 20s might still adopt that mindset because it's online. But a lot of people do a lot of this online, and then we actually see their dynamic. It's nothing like what they look like. It's like the men should pay for everything, and then you find out that they're doing 50-50 at home, which is nothing wrong with it. No. But I'm just saying, don't take it in and think a man's got to pay for everything, because that's not realistic. You don't pay for everything. Yeah. So you can't expect one person to, unless you're marrying a multimillionaire. Live your best life.
Let them do
live
that.
Your best life. But regular people have regular jobs and regular bills, so you're kind of figuring out your own medium. Yeah. Laura, this has been incredible. But before we round off, I want to ask you, what is one piece of advice or one actual step that you'd like to leave our listeners with when it comes to cultivating a more positive money mindset?
I think one of the most powerful things that you can do is make a conscious choice to know that no matter what situation you've been in up until now, you can change.
I love that.
Taking accountability for whatever situation you're in now. Being able to say, I trust that I can change my mindset, I can change my behavior, and not just writing yourself off like, this is how I've always been. This is what my parents were like. And being able to really just go, I take accountability and I commit to changing, whether it takes me a month, whether it takes me 2 years. That is the most powerful thing you can do. And all the other things you can learn on the way, but being able to, in your head, make a contract with yourself to say, I want the best life for myself. Finances is a huge part of that. If I can change my behaviors and habits with the gym and with healthy eating, and I can do the same with my money. Because then it just creates this beautiful platform to reframe how you view saving and budgeting and all of the things. And obviously, I'm a big believer that everything for your financial success starts with your mindset.
Absolutely. Laura, thank you so much. This has been such an insightful episode. For everyone listening and watching, where can they find you?
Where can't you find me? So I'm on, my main platforms are Instagram and TikTok, where I'm Laura Ann Moore. And I also have a podcast called Mind, Money, Soul. Ooh. I'm also on LinkedIn for the corporate.
Laura, thank you so much. And to everyone listening and watching, thank you for tuning in. And we're back again next week with another episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.